Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Drew Meyer with Meyer Construction. This is going to be the barn door build series. Did some playing around, just sketching out quick. Is basically slats running vertically, and then about a third of the way it changes. This door is going to be made out of alder and 1/2-inch plywood. Alder trim in the home, and cabinets knotty alder. The cabinets are getting repainted black. So this is going to be a kind of a neat door with the plywood's going to be painted black, and then all the slats and accent pieces are all going to be stained to match the trim. So you can kind of see the material we're working with, which I love it. I really love alder. To try to save some of these knots from blowing out, I'm going to use 2P10, the super glue with the activator. So on this knotty alder, obviously there's a lot of knots, which that's what the homeowner wants, and I personally love the look of it. But obviously if we're ripping this down, what we're going to deal with is either I'm going to have to plan my cuts, or I'm going to experiment a little bit, and I'm going to try to use CA glue and fill, you know, these spots in. These knots are pretty tight, and then activate it and see if that saves me from blowing out any knots, which these are all pretty tight here. But on some pieces, it might work. So this is the poor man's track saw, just using a piece of angle. And when you're doing this like this, you just want to keep that sawdust from building up against your track. So I glued up my stiles. Basically what I wanted to do was be able to hide the plywood edge. So what you do is lay it, basically rip a 45 the whole way, lay a piece down, or lay your pieces down, butt them together with that miter, and you run a piece of tape on the back side. That way when you glue it, all you do is roll it up and then run tape around it to hold it in place. And you can see that gives you a really nice clean edge. I still need to sand it, but turned out good. That way when I install it on the door from the side, you will not be able to see the plywood. So you can see how you lay that tape. Was tape one side and then lay it down, and then line up my miter, my outside edge of the miter, and then roll it up after you glue it. So after pulling off my tape, what I'm doing is taking my plane and getting any glue or any high spots off. And you can see on some of these, there's a little gap in certain spots. What you can do is just take a screwdriver or something round, and you basically just put slight pressure and work that seam, and it just crushes that grain and kind of rounds it over. And then you can see it makes any gap disappear. So you just kind of work your way along, like right here. If you can see that, how it's slightly open.
I came from the mud, there's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree, there's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night, try to catch me howling at the moon. When it rains, it pours.
so I'm working on this door here and I'm trying to get my spacing right on. Originally I'd upsize my slats to try to account for that, but I'm gonna have to fine tune my spacing blocks. How you do that to get equal spacing, take the amount of either spindles, railing, whatever your material is that you're trying to space accordingly, get roughly how many you think you want and lay them down in the given area, which is obviously from my style edge. So I lay all those out and I have 15. So you lay all amount that you want, and what you're gonna do is measure the distance you have remaining, which I have 12 3/4. And then what you do is divide your leftover area by the number of your slats or spindles plus 1, because you always have one more space than you do items you're trying to space evenly.
Will you find me? Hope you find me. I'll be back home soon. When the sunrise, when the sun.
Here's the finished product. The double barn door setup. This is all Colonial Elegance track and the soft close shut feature, which is a really nice feature to have on a barn door. That way they rest in the closed position, especially with a double door. Otherwise you deal with being closed. It can be a challenge to get them to rest touching just perfectly. A setup like this, these doors were 27 3/4 a piece. So it's 2 tracks joined together, which is just this connector here. Another thing when you're installing a double door, a long track like this, is to string line your track, both the distance away from the wall and then to straighten it out. Also installed are the floor guides. That keeps the bottom of the door from traveling. You'll see some guys put them on the outside, or what you can do is take your router and route a channel in the bottom, and that way not really visible. These are off a modern barn door design off Pinterest. Turned out really good. You can see as far as all the woodwork in the house is knotty alder, and we ended up putting a backer board the length of the track, so I just removed the head trim piece and ran it the whole way. It turned out really nice. The soft close open feature is a little sticky, but it is really nice to have, just at the fact that it'll rest in the open and close position. Anybody that's installed the barn door knows they kind of wander, especially if your track is a slightly bit off. One thing about sizing your barn door opening, minimum would be 3 inches wider. On this door, we went 6 inches wider than the overall opening. That way you have an overhang at the edge, because you can see as it sits away from the wall, that coverage, make sure you won't see into the area you're closing up. So like on a double door, I would aim for 3 inches overhang on the outside of the door in the closed position. And then typically what they say is 1.5 inches taller. I did a half inch gap at the bottom. But yeah, so that's how I went about this. It's kind of hard to get a real view of what they look like. They turned out really nice. Again, this is all Colonial Elegance hardware from Menards, and the track, Colonial Elegance. You can see that's what the soft open close is, where it just catches, that comes in and rests, and then when you open it up, it just releases where your door can travel. They're really easy to install. The only other thing to be aware of, if you're going to do a backer board like I did with this system, you'll have to replace the leg screws they come with a longer 3/8 leg, which I went with Spax. And then it did not fit in these spacers, so then I had to use a vice grip and drill out these spacers to accept the deeper threads of the Spax leg. So that was a little time consuming. And then I had to paint those Spax to match. Please hit like, hit subscribe, and go to Meyer Construction and check out some of the other videos. I got another one of another double barn door install on there. This one, I installed the soft close feature, so that is something you can kind of see a difference on. Anyways, thanks for watching, and please hit like, hit subscribe.